It's unusual for two reasons. First of all, it's the only all-Australian cemetery in France, and secondly, it is the only cemetery that has no headstones. The reason there are no headstones is that because there are 410 Australians buried in here, none of whom could be identified. So instead of putting 410 headstones up just saying a soldier of the Great War, they excavated these flower beds and planted 410 red roses, one for each of the men that are buried here. The wall at the back of the cemetery contains the names of 1,299 Australians who are the missing from the Battle of Freomelles. Out of 5,300, I think it was, casualties that you took in a battle that lasted about 15-16 hours, almost 1,300 are missing. Clearly a number of them have been since identified from the mass graves, but you know, there's still a lot of guys still out there. There must be more mass graves around here somewhere, because the missing headstones, the numbers in the cemeteries don't add up to 1,300. Okay. The Australian trenches that they were attacking from were just behind this cemetery, and they went in that direction, going this way. The German front line is where the flags are, and that was running across in that direction. The further they got to the east, the closer they were together, and the further to the west, the wider they were. Those of you that have read anything about Freomelles will have probably heard of a German position called the Sugarloaf. The Sugarloaf was a salient. It was a bulge in the German lines that stuck out into no man's land. And the Sugarloaf was just, see where that farm is there? To the right of the farm, about 200 yards. The Sugarloaf bulged out. And of course that meant that our guys were attacking in this direction. They could come under enfilade fire, fire from the side. Yeah. Now the way that they used machine guns in those days, they'd have them dotted down the line. This gun would be firing in that direction, that one in that direction, this one in this direction, that one in that direction. So it was a crisscross of fire as you were coming across no man's land. The plan was that we would attack across this ground here, capture the German front line, which is where the flags are, that line where the flags are, and then push on and take the German second line. To begin with, it went reasonably well, although the planning was appalling. It was planned in exactly the same as the Battle of Aubers the year before, over the same ground, which the British had took a pounding at. It was badly planned, badly organised, badly supplied, badly executed. Anything you can stick badly in front of fits for Freomelles. Even to the extent of the pre-dug mortar pits for the Australian mortars. When they placed the mortars in those pits, they discovered they were out of range of the Germans. So there was all sorts of things. Steel helmets had been brought in by 1916, but there wasn't enough to go around here. So a lot of the Australians were attacking across this ground wearing their slouch hats. And the slouch hat is a very important symbol for the Australian Defence Force. As you'll see when you see the statue, the Cobber's Memorial, when we go to the next stop. So they attacked across this open ground. They were taking casualties, but they managed to push the Germans back out of the front line in this position. Remember, they weren't attacking trenches here. The water table is about 18 inches, so they were attacking breastworks, sandbags built above the ground. They started pushing on towards the village of Freomelles. You can see the church up there in Freomelles village. And they were looking for something that didn't exist. There was no second line. Aerial photography had mistaken drainage ditches and attempts at digging trenches as a German second position, but it wasn't there. So these guys are wandering about looking for something, you know, under fire that didn't exist. Eventually the German counter fire was so intense that the orders were given to withdraw. And they had to try and fight their way back across that ground, still under fire from the Germans. Eventually they cleared the German front line position. The Germans reoccupied it, and then those that could got back into the Australian trenches. It's said that Pompey Elliott was in tears as he saw his men come back. What that meant was that all of the guys that were wounded or died beyond the German front line couldn't be got at. In fact, many of the wounded and the dead on this part of the battlefield couldn't be got at. I know that they talk about chivalry and war and stuff like that, and not firing on people collecting the wounded. Didn't happen. It may have happened in some places. It certainly didn't happen here. In fact, Charles Bean was here on the 11th of November 1918, the day the armistice was signed, and he recorded this area here still covered in the bodies from the men who fell on the 1st of July, on the 19th of July 1916.
He actually said this place was more densely sown with Australian sacrifice than any other place in the world.
I think that's Pozier.
Oh, Pozier, but Freomelles, Pozier, so
Yeah.
it was discussed.
1,300 people killed, missing out of the casualties from here in a battle that lasted less than 20 hours. 5,300 Australian casualties and 1,500 British. The big problem was the Sugarloaf. The Sugarloaf sticking out into no man's land, absolutely bristling with machine guns. We made 4 attacks against the Sugarloaf. Every one of them was suicidal. The men were just cut down in the hundreds as they crossed that bit of field. And of course, yeah, when you're under fire. And there is no cover. It's like a billiard table. Yeah. So no ground was gained at all. This didn't get battle status. So it's not part of, when you look at the Villers-Bretton War Memorial, around the top, you'll see all of the different places that the Australians fought. Freomelles is not included in that. And it's not on any other Australian official memorial either. It's classed as a diversionary attack.
Who
So-
put this together, John?
Sorry?
Who organised this cemetery?
Commonwealth War Graves Commission. Yeah, they're
So
responsible.
they acknowledged that there was some
Yeah,
sort
well, I
of-
mean, like everywhere else, how they bury their dead.
yeah.
And it was decided that the missing from Freomelles would go on this wall rather than be included at Villers-Bretton.
And the bodies that Charles Bean diarised are in here now,
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Or there are other cemeteries dotted around about. There's the True Aid Post at the back here, Rue Petillon further along. There's quite a number of unknown Australians in those as well.
And the numbers still don't add up.
Don't add up to 1,300. No. Water table around here.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So a pointless exercise digging these bunkers because you constantly having to bail them or pump them out.
Perhaps they pumped them, they
Yeah.
would have probably.
But you know, you're going to have a guy on 24 hours
Yeah.
pumping this water.
They had no
And you know,
water
this is a
pump.
big flat area. How much effect is a pump going to have when the water table is 18 inches below the surface? And even if they dug shallow trenches a couple of foot deep, the pumping action of walking through the trenches would bring the water to the surface. So it was a pretty grim area. The statue was by a guy called Peter Corlett, an amazing guy from Melbourne. It's not as the Cobbers Memorial, and it depicts a guy called Fraser, Sergeant Simon Fraser, who did sterling work trying to get the wounded off the battlefield. And it said as he was carrying a man from the battlefield, he heard a faint voice saying, "Don't forget me, Cobber."
Was
So
it
he
here?
took his wounded man back and got a few of the boys and went and got this other guy. So it's known as the Cobbers Memorial. The bunkers here were not here during the Battle of Freomelles. They were a later addition.
Oh, okay. So this became the permanent German line for a long time.
Yeah, the line stayed as it was until the spring offensive, in fact virtually until the end of the war. So these lines didn't move much at all. Battle of the Lees was fought further over there, but this wasn't affected so much. It's on Facebook. Now they'll say, "Oh, there must be duds." Well, the filled with explosives. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what it will take to make them go bang. So we'll look at them, we photograph them, we flick them around a bit.
Yeah, I know you'd like to. I really do.
Anyone for cricket? Yes, I mean it's a bit of a poor show at the minute because they've just cleared the stuff out last week, but this time next week there'll probably be a load of stuff, shells.
So
and stuff,
do the farmers just pick it up and bring
yeah,
it
they
over?
just pick it up in the fields and then dump it. They used to dump it further along near the main road, but tourists kept taking hand grenades away.
Live.
It's, yeah.
The clever
Yeah.
things
So looking across the fields over here, there was a great deal of attacking going on here. Now this sunken road's got another significance because it was German barbed wire.
Thank you.
There's some more. Look.
Oh.
Yeah, that's German barbed wire. Albert Jacker, who you may have heard the name, he was awarded the Victoria Cross as a corporal when he was in Gallipoli. He won the MC as a captain in Pozier, and he was awarded a Bartow as MC here at Bullecourt. And if you've read about Bullecourt, you've probably read about Captain Jacker reconnoitring the battlefields, going out in the dark and finding this, that and the other, and how he found a place where he could push his men further forward for their jumping off point. This is it. This is the sunken lane where Jacker brought his, I think it was the 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th battalions forward, and they jumped off from here.
Jacker's mob.
Jacker's mob, indeed, that was 14th battalion. Yeah.
What's this Sentier des Australiens?
You can buy a little pamphlet with walks around the
walking,
battlefields, and these are the posts guiding you around the battlefields. And there are various lengths, and they're for walking or for cycling, and they take you around all the farm tracks. The 2,400 that are missing, many of whom are still in these fields.